Why, hello there. Welcome to Elden Ring Encyclopedia, where I go through every item in Elden Ring A through Z to get into the details of the story and lore of Elden Ring. Last time I discussed the Academy Glintstone staff and the tragedy of Tops the Bluntstone. This time we are diving into the Academy magic pot and the faux sorceries of Elden Ring. And this episode is a great proof of concept for the series because this is a topic you won't find discussed anywhere else. If you're looking for major lore revelations, this might not be the video for you, but if you want to spend a few minutes basking in the world building of Elden Ring, you've come to the right place. Let's get into it. We are going to start with the magic pot, and its item description says, craftable item prepared using a cracked pot. A cocktail of magically resonant materials is sealed inside, and a short rope that aids throwing has been secured around the pot, called a faux sorcery in Raya Lucaria. The magic pot is one of a category of items classified as faux sorceries. These faux sorceries are learned by finding the volumes of the Glintstone Craftsman's cookbook across Liurnia, and even a bit further afield in the case of the Academy magic pot. The item description for these cookbooks says, a record of crafting techniques left by a glintstone craftsman who served the Academy. Contains information on faux sorceries, such as they were called. So these were crafting techniques recorded by a craftsman or multiple craftsmen who served Raya Lucaria, and Raya Lucaria dubbed them as faux sorceries. And I read a small bit of fun characterization of the Academy here. Clearly they're okay with these items, which logically bolster the strength of the Cuckoo who serve their main military force, but they still want to make sure these items are not confused with real sorcery and name them faux sorceries. This is purely my own interpretation, but I think you can see the Academy's military ambitions implied here, which we know ultimately lead to overthrowing the Carians and ruling the Academy. They provide a lot of items that produce glintstone magic, which I would imagine were primarily to be used by the Cuckoo. And I don't think this is something they do lightly considering how much value they derive from being uniquely capable in glintstone sorcery. The highly stratified hierarchy of the Academy shown by their robes and masks are meant to visually display one's prowess in glintstone sorcery and are given great value by the Academy. And they even paid the Cuckoo in knowledge. The scholars' armament and shield spell descriptions explain that they were taught to the Knights of the Cuckoo by the Academy as payment for their contract. This is in addition to letting them pillage the region of Liurnia as discussed in my video about the Academy Glintstone seals, but knowledge is what they provided directly. All of this paints a picture that they highly value their knowledge and wield it as a source of political power. And for me, it speaks towards their ultimate goal for power that they'd support any kind of democratized sorcery. It only makes sense to me in a situation where it will ultimately serve them, in this case bolstering the power of their soldiers, the Cuckoo. But of course, they still need to make sure it's not mistaken for what they do, true sorcery, and label it as faux sorcery. And I'd like to clarify that faux sorceries were not made purely by the Academy, as we will see. And I don't think they were made only to battle the Carians, but to bolster the power of the Academy that they could wield as a force in the region. In the first of these cookbooks, and likely the most rudimentary of the faux sorceries, we have the Cuckoo Glintstone, which says, lump of broken glintstone wreathed with magic power, a faux sorcery used by Knights of the Cuckoo, craftable item, launched straight ahead using FP. A magic bolt springs forth from the point of impact. This is the faux sorcery we see the Cuckoo wield in the game, and it makes sense being the easiest of the faux sorceries to craft. It doesn't even require a pot to make, and I wouldn't be surprised if this sprung up from the Cuckoo themselves as a makeshift version of the basic magic pot. And while useful, I can't help but think how tragically ineffective this must have been against the Carian Knights, who, as we discussed in the last video, used Carian retaliation to turn enemy sorceries into glint blades, which is very easy to do against a Cuckoo Glintstone. At the other end of the spectrum, in the last of the Glintstone Craftsman cookbooks, number 8, we have the Academy Magic Pot, which says, craftable item prepared using a ritual pot. enchanted by Raya Lucaria sorceries, consumes FP. Throw at enemies to inflict heavy magic damage. This pot, considered a faux sorcery, was employed to protect the academy. This is your top shelf pot here, using a ritual pot, and instead of magically resonant materials like the basic pot, it is enchanted by Raya Lucaria sorceries. Like the others, this was used to protect the academy and was likely used by the Cuckoo and noble sorcerers who were not full-fledged scholars. Continuing my tradition of highlighting the anonymous corpses of Elden Ring, the cookbook for the Academy Magic Pot is found on this corpse all the way out in the consecrated snowfield. It is found on the corpse of a noble sorcerer, which makes sense, and I think there is a bit of fun irony here. The Academy Magic Pot was created to protect the Academy according to its description, but this unfortunate fellow looks to have been taken out by a product of the Academy. A forbidden product of Raya Lucaria's studies, but still a product. But perhaps being out here in the consecrated snowfield far from the Academy, this guy was helping to pursue the primeval current in the nearby Albanoric rise, so this may have been some magic justice. And speaking of the Albanorics, there is another pot that is both noteworthy and disturbing, and that is the Albanoric pot, which says, craftable item prepared using a ritual pot. Enchanted by sorceries of the Cuckoo, consumes FP. Throw at enemies to impede recovery actions using a flask of tears for a certain duration. The Knights of the Cuckoo do declare, "Behold thy defiled blood, unlike any humor that flows in our grand realm." While some of the Cuckoo are mashing up shards of glintstone to throw, others are pulling out their fancy ritual pots and filling them with Albanoric blood. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Carians also dabbled in some faux sorceries outside the Academy. Glintstone Craftsman cookbooks 6 and 7 are found in the Carian Manor, and the freezing pot explains their origin. Craftable item prepared using a ritual pot, engraved with the crest of the Carian royals, thrown at enemies to cause frost buildup. Originates from the cold, dark moon of Rani, the Carian princess. One book is found in the gardens and the other on the Carian servant and puppet enthusiast Pydia, and they contain power from Rani's dark moon. There isn't too much of note here, but it is interesting, considering the Academy's disdain for the moon, that a craftsman who serves the Academy would also craft moon sorcery pots. But of course, Renala of the Full Moon ruled the Academy for a long time, and you have the Lazuli Conspectus secretly revering the moon, so in my headcanon there was probably some demand for some black market moon pots. And there you have it, the Academy Magic Pot and the Faux Sorceries of Liurnia. I enjoyed taking this breezy jaunt into a set of item descriptions that are minor, but help to further characterize the lands between and help give shape to the region of Liurnia. If you enjoyed this lore jaunt, please like the video and subscribe to the Lore Hunter to go on future jaunts, a few lore treks, and perhaps some lore quests. Thanks for watching.